So hi everybody and welcome to the channel today. I have these little cutouts of what I feel is supposed to be little horses, but this one, because of the coloring, reminds me of a fox a little bit. But yeah, so these are little horses, abstract horses that I've cut out of my papers that I've painted, and I've just taken some parts and just drawn these on the back the pencil and gone ahead and cut them out, and this is what they look like. So depending on what way you want them to face, you would then draw them in the opposite direction. So this one I've drawn this way, you can see the opposites, and then when you turn them around they are facing the opposite way. So I wanted to work with this in my sketchbook, and this is a page I'd drawn something on when I first started the sketchbook, but I want to fill it in with my latest pieces. So I don't know, here I could see a little hill, so I'm just going to do a rough outline of where I would set this little character. So I'm thinking, should I do some background first and then glue this guy in? And because maybe I want to paint this side, I'm gluing in here, I might do something here quite quickly and see. So I'm gonna go in with, I've got some brushes here like this filbert, which is a size, what size is it? 8. This is a flat and it's a size 6 flat. I have a round, which I don't have the size for this. This is from my kids. Very affordable paint brushes set. And this is an Arteza, and it's one of their detailed brushes, which I've conveniently got some paint over here. But I think it's like a 0 or it's a really small size. But they have a pack for the Arteza of a pack of 15, I think it is, brushes that are detailed brushes, they call them. I'll just get out and show you what pack that I have here. So this is the pack. So it's got about 15 miniature brushes. So I've not used all of them yet, but I bought, I think this is the second set I've bought, because I think I misplaced quite a lot of these before because I was using them for all sorts of things. So yeah, I've got these brushes that I could use to get some stuff going. So I've got colors here. So this is like a pale yellow, ultramarine, orange red, emerald green, and then some white. I usually would have some black here as well. I've just realized I haven't got that. But I might get some of the brown I have on my palette on the other side of the room to use instead, because you can make your own blacks, to be honest. So I can work on that. So I'm just going to put some dark background here, and maybe now be the time. So some orange in with that ultramarine blue, and you can see that's quite, it's like an orangey brown. And I just want to fill in some spaces here, and I'm very abstract in how I do things because I want to have the colors travel through the whole painting. So just going to use that and fill in these spaces. So I was thinking, what should I share with you on this channel today? And I think my topic would be about just being free to create whatever comes to mind and not question yourself too much. So the more you paint, the more comfortable you get with creating work. And if you don't paint as much, then you be uncomfortable creating work. So it's basically about being brave and just going for it. So here I'm thinking about, you know, kind of different textures in the background, different shades of things. So my imagination is going to possible like trees and the skyline and shrubs and greenery. So I'm using this these warm colors, warm tones, to kind of suggest all of those things. And I'm not being too precious about it. So, oops, so I'm trying to get also my camera lighting to be very specific. I'm hoping it's bright enough. It usually is. Anytime I film this, it's quite bright, but I always, because I'm looking on my screen as well, so that I can see what this looks like. So I have this, my camera's facing downwards, but it's projecting. Also sharing, I mean, with my screen in my office studio space. So I can see that it's in the right place for you to see my progress. So I have just put these colors here. As I said, it's what I've got on my palette, and you can get such a variety of colors by adding a little bit of one or the other. So my sketchbooks have been great places to experiment with recently. I never used to enjoy using sketchbooks, but I've realized it is a place to play, so I am starting to catch up with that notion. Oop, just go around and add this. I'm trying to kind of do things equally on both sides, but that might not happen. So if I'm putting something light on this side, then I'll put it light on the other side. But what's really fun as well, that I've been slowing myself down to really look at the colors I'm using. So even colors, the similar colors beside each other, like if I add a little bit more white into this, that it looks like a grey now. It's a blue and brown. And I haven't been cleaning my brush, as you can see. So now it's this thing of the side and right. I've got this blues on it, but does it have to be a blue sky? Because for some people, they would start off with these colors that are cool colors and go, right, I think it's just going to stay in the blues. But I like to mix the warm and the cool colors. So I didn't actually wait very long for this to dry, because acrylic can work quite well in that aspect that it dries quite quickly. But also, I don't mind mixing my colors sometimes, because I know I can always paint over it. So I'm not scared of the variety of browns and colors going on here. And if you could see this a little bit better, what you would see is that this is a lot of a darker blue in here. There's some browns, some reddish browns with the orange in there, orange red, and you can go back and forth with this. So I'm going to try and glue this, my little character, down that I have here. Not this one, yeah, this one. So this is quite red, and placement. I wanted to put up on this hill, but then I'm feeling that it's too kind of high up, so I might glue down here. But I'm just going to wait till it's a little bit drier, I think, and I'll prepare my brush. I have here my gel medium that I'm going to be using, acrylic gel medium, and you can see the brand there, Sennelier. Sennelier, I don't know how you say that. So I'm just going to wipe off my brush and then use some of this. And I need to get a new one, but I've still got enough. I like to use up my stuff before I get new ones. Then it makes me also, I mean, it's not that usually I'm desperate to use it, unless I know I need a lot. But also it makes me use other tools I have. So just gonna put this, you can put it on the actual surface, or you can put it on the back of this character. I'm just gonna do this, not care about my painting, and this, and you should usually wait till this dries before you do this, because I can see some blue that's sneaked on there, and if I probably went over this character with this brush, I'd probably paint some blue on it, which can be fine, but I want to keep the red. So that's it, done. And I'll use up the rest of this on my and then put it straight into some more paint. So I'm just going to close this off. So that's that stuck on. You can see how quickly I've created this background, my little cutout horse, or fox, whichever one you want. I'm going to stick with it being a horse, because that's the theme that I'm trying to follow at the moment, like with my horses. So you can see how once you've got a background, how nice that looks. Let me just see, I think I had some other backgrounds in this that going to use as an example. Yep, here's another one. So these were just some bits of paint on my brush that I just decided to put onto this page, but that looks really nice. I like that, the coloring on that. Or like on this side. That looks really nice. I might just glue that down actually. Thinking I want to glue that down, but I like that, so I'll leave that on that page. That's gonna happen. So now I'm looking at my little character and I'm thinking kind of blending in too much with the background. So I'm gonna use my smaller brush and see if I can do some more detail work around and try and decide what I want to do. Maybe I should actually bring in some more green first. Decisions. And I think I'll go for the sky. And I want to make the sky a little bit of a green tinted sky. A lot of white. Let's just go around to make it stand out. And a lot of these, my new paintings, I have been doing my little huts, so that some of that might happen. Well, I keep calling them huts. Why? Cottages, I mean, not huts. Okay. So I'm kind of trying to blend this over into this color here. The more colors you add, you see what happens. It's all going to mix together, and then I'm going to carry that color over to this side a little bit. Bigger brush. It's quite wet. Let's just make it a bit drier. So you can just kind of have a mostly dry brush and just graze over the top of it to kind of keep some of the colors in the background. You can add more blue, add a bit of green, and go into that sky and doing all sorts of things, blending here, there, adding some white straight in, and just keeping your hand moving so you're kind of getting a sky like, you know, like the clouds. And if you want, you can add a bit more water in there to blend some areas. I like to see the textures through it, so I might leave that sky alone and go into making a bit more of a greenery going on down here in these areas. We're starting to add some of the green. The yellow, bringing in like lemony green color. And I just keep my brush moving the whole time. That's how you get the textures, and you can mix some colors in, and then you just layer a bit more blue. I'm trying to think where to put it. And you can start trying to look for that vegetation. I think I might put a tree in somewhere. So if I want to put a tree in and I just want to mix some of the colors over, even though I have green on my brush, I am going to use that anyway, and then I'll go over with some brown, and that's all tying in. I'm going to make this tree go all the way across here. It's a very long, big tree. And once this dries, you can come in with pencils, China markers, crayons, like oil pastels as well, and a whole load of stuff, basically. And anytime I have like excess on my brush, I can basically either onto a scrap piece of paper, or I can go into my sketchbooks and just add it to whatever's on my sketchbook to try and get some other colors in this one. So I just use it up in my other sketchbooks. So yeah, this was basically a blank page to start off with, which you saw, and this is where we are now. So I'm just gonna go in and mix a brown. So I'll take some of this orange and add it to this green that's already here, and I'm thinking I'm just gonna go with it for now, but I'll make it darker. But I want this to stand out a little bit. So that's my tree. Starting to get some other bits. So I'm not taking long thinking about anything. I'm just going, okay, the tree looks roughly like this. Just make as many branches as you can. There are some thin branches and there's some thicker ones, and you just play like that. And now, because we had that other color behind, it kind of looks like a shadow. Or like, yeah, a shadow reflection in the background of it. And then we can still add some more blue to this and make it a darker brown. And then go back in, and so you're just building your layers and making your tree more realistic because it has shadows and things going on. I'm gonna do some leaves on this tree in a minute. Let's see. Very fast. Right, I want to do some leaves, so I'm going to add some more blue to the brown. So I'm taking it towards the blue side. Then I add some yellow. And now it's green, so we could go with this. Sometimes I make a lot darker leaves. So we can go with these and start putting leaves here and just dotting it about. Some are big, some are small. You can kind of be thinking about like leaf shapes if you want. But this is like a stylistic way of doing this tree, because I just want the impression of like that there are leaves, but not that there are, not that you take time on like to do too much. And you can use different colors as well. So you can make it a little bit lighter green to show shadow, or to show light, I should say. So you just dot it around, and then some areas can be bigger. And you can take that green into other areas of the painting. Like here, there could be like maybe another, or an area with something closer up to us. The leaves. Well, some of the floor could have that color. Around the legs here. Like some dirt could have that color. Let's put some of this brown back in. Can put a bit of white just to make it a bit lighter, like it's some kind of a ground area. It's just, the more you play with it, you just get more out of it. And then if I wanted to show shadow for the horses, I've just put a bit of blue in there. And it's just coming out slightly different. Could push this back a little bit, it's quite bright. Put a little bit more blue on that. So this area looks very active. This area, let's do some more stuff. So I'm just using up what's on my brush. Yeah, so making some shrubs. Going in with this. You can add some more yellow to this actually. But I'm just going to carry this across the whole page. And you can scratch into this as well. Like I've done this area here, and I could just scratch into that and take some of those colors back to what's underneath. You can use different tools to do this, to make it a lot clearer and more pronounced, or bigger tools. So I'm going to add a little bit more yellow in here and get a different green. So anytime I'm mixing, I'm kind of mixing with whatever is there for the next addition of color. So I'm just going to add some here. All the time thinking about vegetation as well. So I'm like, okay, I could have some plants around. As I was saying, the whole idea of all that, you know, mixing of colors is to get a blending of some sort, but also to be aware that there's the texture of foliage, like plants and shrubs. So it gets you into that way of doing it. So I'm going to add a lighter color and go back into these areas. Still all the time just trying to think about different grass and textures and leaves, and could add a bit more red into that and get something a bit brighter into some areas and just dot it around. So you can do so much more with this. It's ridiculous. And this is just all from the colors that are on this, which are towards the primary colors. The primary colors, as long as you have something in each family, because this yellow's not necessarily, I mean, okay, this is closest to a pure yellow if we think of yellow. This is not a red, this is a red-orange. And then I've got the blue, but because you have these different shades, it ends up creating different greens and different browns and a lot of variety. So mixing your colors really, really helps. I'm going to try and make this into a gray and go into the sky. Is that going to work? All right. So I've taken some off screen here, and I took some of that greeny brown and orange, and I took a lot of white and some of the blue, and yeah, I have a gray. So I'm going to go into the top of this and cut into it. It's not a bright enough gray, I think. Put more white in there. So I'm just kind of like pushing this down a little bit. So I'm just kind of pushing this down. I wanted to get a different effect up here. Not sure what it looks like. I'm just thinking I want to do that. Sometimes you don't really have a reason why you're doing something. You just do it, and then you go, oh, okay, maybe not, and you can fix it. So using cutouts and just creating something from it is one way to make it an easier, not thinking too much process for creating artwork. So the more colors I'm adding to this, it's getting richer. And it's getting more interest. Let's put some more of this here over that brown in the distance. So you just take your time. You can add a little bit more of that green in there. Go lighter. I can go into the gray, and then if I'm lower down here with the gray and the green, it just makes something else. Look at that. That's a really nice like green going across. A gray green that, so every color they just start to warmly work together when you mix them a bit more. But like I said, you can put more in the trees. The leaves could be lighter. They don't have to be that dark. You can take your time and build up your leaves on the tree. You can make it a lot fuller. So I'm just going to spread it around a bit. I can add more blue to that. And so here you can see a bit more of that. So your leaves on your trees, you can spend more time and they can get really interesting. Just mixing the colors together, like from this one, whatever you want to mix next, you just push this either towards more green, more blue, depending on what you add. If you want it more yellow, you add more yellow. And then if you want it lighter, you add a little bit of white. And you just keep playing with everything like that. And then like these areas here, as I said, it's that whole thing of that there's the different foliage. So I'm bringing some of that blue from the trees in here, and then as I said, you dot it around so it looks like plants. You just keep your hands moving and the whole thing will become cohesive, work together. And that's the color playing part, the harmonizing the color. So yeah, and then this my horse, I have done nothing whatsoever to. I could have brought some of these colors in. So what I could do is really a little bit of this, and I could just have maybe with the mane. That's not dark enough. Let's see. A bit darker. It's not dark enough. Let's go in here. Bit of the red. And I could have maybe done some of its, and then some of its hair here. So you just take your time. You can actually change this horse quite a bit. So this is just to say that that's some of its hair coming over here, because the wind's blowing it. Let's see, what else could I do with this horse? I can put some of this to show that that is also so you can play around with the horse to do a lot more other stuff. Let's see, I could put maybe some, for taking a little bit of this, I could put some dots on its back. Trying to think what else. I mean, if I'd put some more there, so yeah, you could just do a lot of different things, to be honest. I don't really want to do too much. But yeah, its ears, you can put little, like that could be a color. Its feet could have hooves. There. So just done a little bit of playing around with the horse. You can do a lot more than that. Scratching into it. A muzzle, like you can make his, yeah, here it could be a bit darker on his face. So yeah, a lot of different things could happen in here. I'm not going to play with it too much. I'd wanted to do my hut, which I haven't. I'd wanted to do my cottage, which I haven't done. So I'm just going to add maybe a little cottage and then we'll call it a day. But yeah, you can just see how much fun it is to just build a little painting. If I put the cottage like here, it's quite, is it going to be a big one? I'm going to clean up my brush. Don't have my black here, so I'm going to try and use my blue. And this for the, it's not going to be dark enough. I'm going to have to use my black, so I will get that in a minute. What I'm going to do as well is I like to do trees on either side of my cottage. So just put a bit of yellow mix in this area here that's a lot darker. Yeah, so I'm going to do some tall trees that are in the distance. A little bit of like, so some round trees I like to do. Bushes, I should say. Yeah, so I've got some of those. I like to also make the grass in front of the cottages like a yellow, so that it's kind of like you can see the area of around the cottage. So that's like a little path would go somewhere there, and then there's the horse over there. I'm going to do something else here as well, which is put some fences around here. It looks really nice like this, but sometimes I put a fence. Maybe I'll do it if it's dry. We'll see. I'm going to try and get my black out so that I can use it for find it. Yeah, got it. So I can use a lot more. I've got my detail brush, so I might have to use that in a minute. So my detail brush, and I'm gonna put my cottage roof on. Cottages, there's different ways you could do these roofs. You could do it as simply as I've just done it there, and then usually I would paint around all of this in more detail. But you could do it like this, or you could put like this. Sometimes you have the chimneys coming up like this, and so that's kind of like, and then if it's dried I would have put some more details around that. What I'm going to do next is put some fences that I like to do, signature fences. Now I can use usually my Posca pen, which I'll just so if it's all dried, I would have used this pen across to create my fence, but because it's still quite wet, I am going to use my detail brush, which I flattened, so I'm pushing it down, so I flatten it so that it has like what I'm hoping will be a thinner line. And I could put the fence around that cottage, or I'm gonna come over here and try and see what I can do just to show that the horse is in a secure environment. I'm gonna start putting a fence here, and I'm not going to be too precious about the layer, but what I could do is make it look like it's an old fence. So I start to do some of them being rickety, some of them being smaller, taller, and so that's how I play around with the fencing. And I could do this all the way along this painting, but I don't want to do that. I just want to leave it like that. I could trail it all the way. Keep changing my mind. I'm thinking if I put some in front of the tree, but I think the thinner you make it, then it's going further away. So that's what I'm doing, just going and you can make this top a bit more not so pointy, and just take my time making them squint, different shapes, just to show how unique the fence is. And then I could start trying to get it to go towards the little cottage. So that it's kind of like the whole thing is together. So, and then I'm gonna just try and put a little, like the line. Line going along. So you can actually go over these a lot more to make the fence a bit more prominent, or but I am just going to leave it here. So the horse, once it's dried, you can make it a bit more obvious where its face is and everything. You can add more onto to make it more prominent. Do some more detail in the horse, like the hair, like all this. You don't have to put anything on the horse, but I would take a long time just fine-tuning the details of the horse. So it's a bit more obvious what it is. So I've just covered that up, and then I can do some white on it. So it just depends, there's so much that can be done. I could change the whole horse, that even though I've got that in, I could just paint this and change it a little bit so it starts to blend in a little bit. So I'll change that there. That thinking that I'm finished, and it's not yet from the looks of it. But yeah, so you can come back and you can add different colors again, fine tuning it. And just playing around with it. I think I'll leave it here before I overcomplicate it, but you can paint over this. So you have that three-dimensional extra on top of it. But yeah. And make the horse another color if you want. Yeah, I think I'll leave it alone now. But the overall landscape is pretty cool. And I'll go away and play with this and try different colors on it. And get my character. And I'll see you in the next sheer segment of this.